Have you ever wondered why your erection feels weaker exactly at the moments when you need power the most, even though your desire is still there? I am Dr. Emily Collins, and before we go deeper into science, let me break the ice with something real. Every week, men over 50 tell me the same story. They say their penis no longer fills with blood the way it used to, that the firmness disappears halfway, or that the body simply does not respond with the strength it once had. And yet, inside them, the will, the drive, the masculine energy is still alive. What they want is not a miracle. What they want is a method that works. This is where rosemary enters the conversation, and not as a simple kitchen herb. When you hear the words fast results, power, and erection in the same sentence, it almost sounds exaggerated. But rosemary has a unique ability that most men never learn to use correctly. Its active compounds stimulate circulation, increase warmth in the pelvic region, and help the penis draw blood more efficiently, creating a harder, fuller, more responsive erection. Most men only consume rosemary in food, never realizing that they are missing the real method, the method that triggers immediate physiological change. My goal here is not to sell illusions. It is to show you, step by step, how to use this plant in a way that directly affects your sexual performance. You will understand what happens in the blood vessels, how the penile tissues react, and why certain mistakes prevent men from achieving the rigidity they want. The promise in this title is clear: fast results, real power, and a natural approach that respects your age while restoring the vitality you thought was gone. And the truth is, once you apply rosemary correctly, the body responds quickly, sometimes in minutes, because you are working with biology, not against it. You may recognize parts of your own experience here. Maybe you have already felt that frustrating moment when the erection weakens, or the blood does not flow with the same force. If any of this sounds familiar, stay with me, because what you will discover now can genuinely surprise you. And before we continue, tell me in the comments if you have ever experienced a drop in firmness or struggled to maintain a strong erection. Your experience matters. While you are here, make sure to like this video and check if you are already subscribed, because understanding this content can change the way you approach your sexual health. Let's move forward, keeping the energy rising and the curiosity open for what comes next, as we begin to uncover how your body reacts and why rosemary may be the missing piece you never considered. As we begin to look deeper into what happens inside the male body after 50, it becomes clearer why even men with strong desire struggle with maintaining a full and powerful erection. The reduction in blood flow is not simply a matter of aging, it is the cumulative effect of years of microvascular slowdown, cell hormonal shifts, and changes in the responsiveness of penile tissues. The penis depends entirely on circulation to become firm, and when the vessels narrow or lose elasticity, the blood that once rushed in with force now enters more slowly, producing weaker rigidity. Many men do not notice this happening gradually, but the body sends signals long before the problem becomes obvious, through reduced sensitivity, slower arousal, or difficulty sustaining firmness. Inside the pelvic region, the vascular network becomes less efficient with time, and the nerves that control the erection reflex require more stimulation to produce the same reaction. Testosterone may still be within normal range, but it no longer acts on the tissues with the same intensity, meaning arousal does not translate into physical response as quickly as before. At the same time, inflammation and poor circulation create a cycle that restricts the natural expansion of the erectile chambers, preventing the penis from filling completely with blood. This is why so many men report that their erections look smaller, feel softer, or fade sooner. It is not a failure of masculinity, it is physiology adapting to age. But here is something that men rarely hear: the body retains an incredible ability to respond when given the right stimulus. The erectile tissue is not dead, it is dormant, waiting for improved blood flow and a stronger biochemical signal. This is where natural methods gain importance, because they do not force the body but rather support its original mechanisms. When circulation increases, even slightly, the penis reacts with surprising strength, and this renewed responsiveness often brings back confidence that seemed lost. Understanding these internal changes allows you to see why a simple herb like rosemary can have such a visible effect. Its warming properties and circulatory stimulation work in the exact areas that have weakened over the years, creating a noticeable difference in the quality of the erection. As the body relearns how to direct blood toward the penis and sustain pressure within the erectile chambers, many of the frustrations men experience begin to diminish. The key is recognizing that the decline is not irreversible. The vessels can be awakened, the nerves can become more responsive, and the tissues can regain the ability to expand fully. This foundation sets the stage for understanding why certain natural techniques produce results so quickly when applied correctly. Everything you felt in the past, that sense of complete firmness and solid responsiveness, can be stimulated again, and the next step is understanding how rosemary interacts with these mechanisms to amplify what your body is still capable of delivering. When you begin to understand how weakened circulation affects your erection, it becomes easier to see why rosemary can create such fast and noticeable results. This plant contains a complex combination of compounds that stimulate blood flow, warm the pelvic region, and encourage the penile tissues to draw in more blood with greater intensity. One of the key mechanisms involved is the influence rosemary has on nitric oxide production, an essential molecule responsible for relaxing the walls of blood vessels. When nitric oxide increases, the vessels expand more easily, allowing a stronger rush of blood toward the penis. This is the same pathway behind every natural erectile response, and rosemary enhances it in a remarkably efficient way. In addition to this biochemical effect, rosemary improves microcirculation, especially in areas where blood flow tends to slow down with age. The small arteries that feed the erectile chambers can become stiff or less responsive over the years, but rosemary helps restore elasticity and heat in these areas. When the tissue warms, the vessels open, and the penis becomes more capable of receiving and holding pressure. That is why many men notice a heavier feeling, more fullness, and a quicker physical response after using rosemary properly. What seems like a simple herbal reaction is actually a coordinated physiological shift inside the pelvic region. Another important aspect is rosemary's ability to reduce subtle inflammation that inhibits the natural erectile process. Even low-level inflammation can restrict blood movement and interfere with nerve sensitivity. By reducing this internal tension, rosemary allows the penile nerves to fire more effectively, increasing sensation and responsiveness. For men who feel that their erection has lost intensity or that arousal takes longer to translate into a physical reaction, this improvement in nerve function is often one of the first benefits they notice. The penis becomes more reactive, and the body delivers a clearer, stronger signal. Rosemary also enhances mitochondrial activity, which directly affects energy production within the cells of the erectile tissue. When energy levels rise, the tissue contracts and expands more efficiently, contributing to a firmer, more sustained erection. This cellular boost is subtle but powerful, creating better stamina and reducing the tendency for the erection to weaken prematurely. What makes this particularly appealing is that the effect is both immediate and cumulative. The body responds quickly, but consistency amplifies the results over time. All of these mechanisms explain why rosemary can act so rapidly when used the right way. It activates the very pathways that age tends to slow down, giving the penis a renewed ability to fill with blood and maintain pressure. And this brings us to a crucial point: the method of preparation and application determines the strength of these effects. Knowing the science behind rosemary is one thing, but learning how to use it in a precise, effective way is what makes the real difference, and that is where the next steps become even more important. Understanding why rosemary works is only the first step, because everything depends on how it is prepared. Most men never experience the real effect simply because they use it in weak concentrations or in ways that do not activate the compounds responsible for boosting circulation. To unlock the fast results associated with stronger erections, the preparation must be precise, allowing the warmth and biochemical properties of rosemary to reach the pelvic region quickly. The first method is a concentrated infusion, much stronger than a simple tea. You begin by taking a handful of fresh rosemary or 2 tablespoons of dried leaves and placing them in hot, almost boiling water. The key is to cover the container immediately, trapping the essential oils that would otherwise escape as steam. After 10 minutes, the water becomes infused with compounds that stimulate blood flow and heat the body from the inside out. Drinking this infusion 15 to 20 minutes before sexual activity warms the pelvic area and primes the blood vessels for expansion. Men often feel a subtle internal heat spreading downward, a sign that circulation is activating. But the real impact comes when the infusion is used externally as well. Once the liquid cools to a comfortable temperature, it can be applied to the lower abdomen and inner thighs using a cloth soaked in the rosemary solution. This directs warmth toward the arteries that lead directly to the penis, helping the erectile chambers receive blood more efficiently. The sensation is gentle but noticeable, creating a pathway for increased pressure and fullness. The second method involves rosemary-infused oil, which must be prepared carefully to avoid destroying the active components. You can combine fresh rosemary sprigs with a carrier oil like olive or almond oil, heating it on very low temperature for 20 to 30 minutes. The point is not to cook the rosemary, but to allow the oil to extract its circulatory agents. When applied to the lower abdomen, the base of the penis, or even along the inner thighs, the oil penetrates gradually, enhancing blood flow and nerve responsiveness. Many men report that this topical method produces a heavier sensation in the penis, a sign that the tissues are beginning to expand and draw in blood. Timing also matters. Using rosemary earlier in the day supports overall circulation, but the strongest effects occur when it is applied shortly before intimacy. The combination of internal infusion and external application can create a rapid increase in pelvic warmth, making the response almost immediate. Frequency shapes the results as well. Using rosemary consistently trains the blood vessels to open more easily, making erections stronger over time. These steps are simple, but they require attention to detail, because proper preparation transforms rosemary from an ordinary herb into a targeted tool for sexual vitality. And once these methods are mastered, they can be organized into a complete pre-intimacy protocol that enhances rigidity and fullness even further. Once you understand how to prepare rosemary in its most effective forms, the next step is applying it in a structured way that enhances your erection right before intimacy. This method works because it synchronizes circulation, nerve sensitivity, and pelvic temperature, creating the ideal conditions for the penis to fill with blood quickly and maintain firmness with far greater stability. The protocol begins about 30 minutes before sexual activity. You start with the concentrated infusion, drinking half a cup slowly to allow the warm compounds to begin circulating through your bloodstream. As the liquid spreads through your system, it increases internal heat and primes the vascular network that supplies the penis. Many men feel a gradual heaviness in the lower body, a sign that the blood vessels are responding. After the infusion, the external step becomes crucial. You take a cloth soaked in the cooled rosemary preparation and place it on the lower abdomen for several minutes. This simple action directs warmth to the arteries that lead to the erectile chambers, loosening the tension in the vessel walls and allowing them to expand more easily. When the tissue becomes warm externally while the internal circulation is activated simultaneously, the penis becomes far more responsive to stimulation. This combination often produces noticeable firmness even before arousal fully begins, because the body is already in an optimized state for blood flow. The rosemary oil application enhances this effect further. Massaging a thin layer of the warm oil around the base of the penis and along the inner thighs increases the intensity of the response. This is not about stimulating the penis directly, but about preparing the vascular routes that feed into it. When these areas receive warmth and pressure from the hands, the vessels dilate and the blood enters the penis with greater force. The erectile chambers expand more completely, creating a thicker, harder erection that maintains its structure rather than fading midway. As your body responds to this protocol, nerve sensitivity naturally increases. Men who have struggled with delayed arousal often notice a shift in how quickly the penis reacts, because rosemary reduces the microinflammation that slows down the transmission of signals. The erection not only becomes firmer, it becomes more stable, holding its shape through movement and changes in position. This is one of the strongest advantages of using rosemary before intimacy. It enhances the physical foundation that supports the erection, rather than depending solely on stimulation. This method also improves the feeling of internal fullness, the sensation men often describe as the penis being completely engorged, heavier, and more alive. That fullness is a direct result of increased blood pressure inside the erectile chambers, and rosemary's circulatory effects make this easier to achieve. As the body becomes accustomed to this routine over time, the response strengthens, creating a predictable pattern of firmness and confidence that transforms the experience of sexual performance. And once this foundation is established, there are additional natural strategies that can amplify the effect even further, helping the body maintain this heightened state with even greater consistency. As the rosemary protocol becomes a consistent part of your routine, there are several natural techniques that can enhance its effects and create an even stronger environment for erectile power. The first is controlled breathing, which has a direct impact on pelvic circulation. Slow, deep breaths that expand the lower abdomen activate the diaphragm and stimulate blood flow toward the pelvic floor. When you inhale deeply and allow the air to push downward, you create internal pressure that assists the vascular network supplying the penis. This increases warmth, raises oxygen availability, and prepares the erectile tissue to expand more fully. Many men underestimate how much proper breathing influences erection quality, but when combined with rosemary, the effect can be surprisingly strong. Another important factor is physical movement. Gentle stretches that target the hip flexors, groin, and lower back loosen the muscles surrounding the arteries that feed the penis. When these muscles are tight, they restrict circulation without you noticing. A simple routine of slow hip circles, forward bends, or light pelvic tilts helps the vessels open more freely. These movements also stimulate the nerves in the pelvic region, improving the sensitivity that often diminishes with age. When the nerve pathways become more responsive, the erection forms more quickly and maintains pressure with less effort. Temperature also plays a critical role. Warmth naturally dilates blood vessels, and using a warm compress on the lower abdomen or inner thighs before applying rosemary oil amplifies its impact. This increases the permeability of the tissues, allowing the active compounds in the oil to penetrate deeper and act faster. Men who combine heat with rosemary frequently describe a more pronounced feeling of fullness, as though the penis is drawing in blood with greater force than usual. This warmth-based preparation mirrors the body's natural response to arousal, making the transition into intimacy smoother and more immediate. Hydration and circulation support go hand in hand as well. Proper water intake keeps the blood less viscous and allows it to move through the arteries more efficiently. When the blood flows more easily, the rosemary compounds travel more effectively and reach the erectile chambers with better intensity. The difference may feel subtle at first, but it becomes more noticeable when the erection forms faster and holds its structure longer. Maintaining consistent hydration also helps the tissues recover after sexual activity, supporting long-term erectile health. Daily habits influence everything. Reducing long periods of sitting, adding short walks throughout the day, and avoiding heavy meals before intimacy all contribute to stronger erections. These choices keep circulation active and allow the pelvic vessels to remain responsive. When combined with rosemary's warming and vasodilating properties, these strategies create a reinforced system where each element supports the others. The body becomes more efficient at sending blood to the penis, the nerves fire with greater clarity, and the erection forms with a sense of strength that feels both natural and reliable. This foundation sets the stage for the final recommendations that tie everything together into a sustainable approach for long-term male vitality. As all these elements work together, the body begins to respond with a level of consistency that many men believed was gone forever. When you use rosemary correctly, support your circulation with intentional breathing, keep the pelvic region warm and active, and eliminate the habits that slow the blood flow, your erection begins to feel stronger and more predictable. What changes is not only the firmness of the penis but the sense of internal control, that confident awareness that the body will respond when your mind desires it. This is the point where men often tell me they feel younger, not because of age, but because the fundamental mechanics of their sexual function finally make sense again. The penis becomes more reactive, the tissues hold pressure with greater stability, and the fullness that once felt difficult now appears naturally, almost automatically. Maintaining this progress requires understanding rhythm and consistency. The vascular system adapts quickly to positive stimulation, and every time you reinforce the pathways that lead blood to the erectile chambers, you strengthen the body's memory of how to perform. Rosemary becomes more than a remedy in these moments, it becomes part of a broader approach to male vitality that respects how the body truly functions. When used regularly, it supports the vessels, awakens the nerves, and encourages the natural warmth that fuels erection quality. Even men who start with subtle improvements soon notice deeper changes, like stronger morning erections, faster arousal, and a renewed sense of presence during intimacy. These signs are not coincidences. They are the physical proof that your system is responding. This process also involves recognizing that sexual health is not separate from the rest of your well-being. When your circulation improves, your energy rises. When inflammation decreases, your body feels lighter. When the nerves regain clarity, the connection between arousal and physical response becomes smoother. Each step reinforces the others, and your erection becomes the visible expression of an internal balance returning to its natural state. The confidence that grows from this is powerful, and it shapes not only performance but the emotional experience surrounding it. Many men describe a sense of grounding, a feeling that they have reclaimed a part of themselves they feared was slipping away. And if you have followed this video until now, it means you are truly committed to improving your sexual health in a natural, intelligent way. I would love to know that you reached the end, so leave a comment with the phrase "This message was for me." Your experience matters, and your presence here shows dedication. If this content has helped you understand your body better, give the video a like, because your support allows me to bring more guidance like this. And if you have not subscribed yet, make sure to do so, especially if you want to continue strengthening your vitality with natural, scientifically grounded methods. There is another video here that connects perfectly with what we explored today, so click and continue your path toward stronger erections, deeper confidence, and a healthier sexual life.